More on this one. I am going to keep sort of reinforcing this, the overlap shapes. Coffee? The overlap shapes. And I know that one I want to do. And this one, blue violet. So first I'm going to do this, and for that I'm just going to use straight ultramarine blue, which I think will work just fine for that. I've been using ultramarine blue for a lot of different mixes, so I sort of I know that if I reach there that there's probably other colors. So that's why it's nice to have it piled up here so I can just sort of grab some clean fresh color from the top there. And I'm also going to, well, I'm just going to paint. What I was going to say before I interrupted myself was that I'm also going to try to focus a little bit on concentrating a little bit of color on the edges. And there's different ways of doing that. One way is when I have that painted like that. If I get a little bit of concentrated, a little bit more concentrated color, but not too much. And if I have a brush that is not too big and won't bring in a bunch more water, you can see that color just sort of mixed right in with everything else. So that brush might be a bit too big for this, and me without a smaller handy brush. Finally found one. This is a small, this is Simply Simmons white sable. It used to be white. And a brush like this can be handy because this will hold not very much water. So the idea is I'm trying to just bring in enough stronger pigment that that will sort of stay put. But it has to be more concentrated. It's a little tricky because if I do that, I'll also sort of need to, it would help if I just let this dry so that it would not move around. I'm going to refine this curve a little bit actually, which at least I hope I'm refining it. Which had a little bit of the same effect. That's kind of more what I was talking about. So that was finally a little bit more concentrated. To where it was really kind of showing up. At least I hope it showed up on the video. Now I'm going to go back to this one, which is in between the red violet and the violet. So from the high pile part of the color, I'm going to tap to get a little bit of pigment and then bring it over here. And I will try to come up with something that's definitely a reddish violet. More red than that. I'm not sure that I have that. Ooh, that was a little too much. Or was it? Ooh, that looks good. I like that. I'm trying to dab in a little around the edges with just the same brush so I can be lazy. But that wasn't really working. So I'm going to try to mix up a little bit more concentrated. And this is more purple than it was, but I'm going to put that on the purple side. These second overlaps I'm going to deal with in a separate way. Maybe this one would be a little bit more. It's drying up here, so I only want to try to dab in a little bit around the edges where it's still wet enough to at least mix with the water enough to blend. Kind of wishing I hadn't let that dry. I'm going to try to refine this even though I might be asking for trouble. No, it's okay because I'm going to be doing that overlap, that inner overlap with some additional stuff, so that'll work out fine. Sort of looking at my water and thinking shape-wise what will work. I want to make that one darker. I think I could do that. And that's an interesting one because it's you know, between yellow and yellow-green, so that's going to be hard to sort of make dark. What I'm going to do first is grab a little bit of my lemony yellow, Hansa yellow light, and mix that with the phthalo yellow green. And I want to think a little bit because I'm going to try to do that, and then I think I'm going to bring in a little bit of, for darker, I'm going to add a little bit of the phthalo green blue shade judiciously. I want enough water in this to make sure it will still move around. You got some blue on you. Oh, see, I shouldn't have. Dog boy. That didn't even work. That had a little bit of ultramarine blue in that water. I was thinking I could grab that water without the color. It didn't work. Okay, let's see here. So I'm just going over this shape, so it's strengthening it, making it a little bit more intense. But because it's yellow there, I don't want to go too green. Like I've said, if I bring in this yellow, it's not a dark color at all, so I'll try that, and then I'm going to grab my smaller synthetic brush, and I'm going to mix a little bit of phthalo yellow green and phthalo green blue shade. Ooh, man, that's getting hard to keep track of. I want it a little bit more. Yeah. Might be a little too much, but I'm going to deal with it. This is how I do my avocados. Not that you've necessarily seen the avocados that I paint. So that was a little too dark around the edges, so I'm just going to go back and grab a little bit of the original lighter color. That still wasn't quite light enough. And try to tame it down a little bit. So there's just, it's this back and forth and back and forth. Trying to do it in a way where things blend in a visually pleasing fashion. I think that's good for one video.